Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to the webinar, What is the PMP Certification? An introduction to and tips for passing your PMP exam. My name is Cornelius Fichtner, and I have been a PMP trainer since about 2008. Thank you so much for joining me today. My goal today is to set you up on the path to success in your PMP exam journey so you can come out at the other end, putting those 3 letters behind your name. And this is because the PMP exam is not an easy exam. It requires you to be dedicated and motivated. So my goal today is to give you the basics about the exam and to show you a study plan that will bring about your exam success. Here is our agenda. 5 parts, as you can see. Exam overview, we begin with the basics there. Then we'll take a look at what is actually on the exam. We will see what you have to do in order to apply for the exam. There's also certification renewal, because many people don't know this, but the PMP exam certification is not for life. It expires. And in part 5, I'm going to give you a study plan and takeaways to make sure that you are set up on the path to the PMP exam. All right, here we go. Before we get started, I wanted to bring up the #1 question that I currently get for the PMP exam, and that is this one right here. I'm currently studying for the PMP exam, and I'm probably going to take it in 2021. Should I use the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, or should I use the new PMBOK Guide 7th edition? That one came out in July 1st of 2021. Well, the answer is quite simple. If you are taking the exam in 2021 and probably into the end of January of next year, of 2022, use the 6th edition. Okay. If you've already read the 7th edition, that's perfectly okay, but you don't necessarily have to. Okay. And I'm saying probably because this is our best guess. PMI has not really announced anything about when questions referencing the PMBOK Guide 7th edition are going to appear on the exam. Right now, the 6th edition is the official PMI reference book on the exam. The 7th edition is not yet part of the PMP exam. That's why I'm saying use the 6th edition. I have a whole presentation, 45 minutes on this, if you want to take a look at that. And now back to today's topic, which is the basics, introduction to the PMP exam. I want to give you some facts and figures, why the PMP, and also some prerequisites there. What is the PMP exam? All right, well, it is the world's leading project management certification. It now includes agile, hybrid approaches. The PMP exam, it proves your project leadership experience and expertise in any way of working on projects. It kind of supercharges your career for a project leader across industry. So it's not specific to IT or construction. It is a cross-industry certification. And even better, if you are a hiring manager, you know that if somebody has the PMP exam, they have a certain value. They have proven that they can take this exam, that they do understand project management, and that they have a certain level of experience, right? You can work smarter and you can perform better. Here are some of the other certifications that the Project Management Institute offers. The PMP exam is owned and managed by the Project Management Institute. So we have the PMP there at the top left. We have the CAPM in the middle. That's the Certified Associate in Project Management, the entry level. And then at the top right, the other one, the PMI ACP, that is the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner. The one that you see at the top, those are really the top 3 certifications from PMI. The ones below, PGMP, PFMP, PBA, SP, and RMP there, those are the specialist certifications. Smaller, fewer people around the world have that certification, a few thousand maybe, whereas with the PMP exam, over 1 million people across the globe hold a PMP. Yeah, so this is really a huge certification that has grown massively into this kind of movement about project management. You can tell, right? Also, project management professionals in more than 200 countries have earned and maintained their PMP certifications, right? Yeah, it delivers real value in the form of professional credibility, deep knowledge, and also increased earning potential. We'll take a look at that in just a second, right? And these benefits that you get from having the PMP certification, they have staying power because PMI wants to make sure that the certification is at a really high level. So they put audits in place. They make sure that people really meet the qualifications. The exam isn't easy. It's a hard exam. You really have to put your mind to it. So all of this put together, right, brings about this credibility of having a PMP certification and having those 3 letters behind your name. Okay, so advantages: it establishes your dedication and proficiency, right? You know how projects are managed, and you've dedicated time and effort in order to pass it, right? There is a distinction and recognition in the community of project management practitioners, right? Having the PMP, those 3 letters behind your name, you know, that is a good thing for a project manager. It really sets you apart from people who don't have it, right? And it also increases your global visibility. For example, some of my students told me that, you know, as soon as they put PMP behind their name, headhunters started contacting them on LinkedIn saying, hey, you're PMP certified. I have a project management job. Would you be interested? Okay. So yeah, the PMP adds value, it delivers benefits, and it proves that you work smarter. It shows you have the skills to drive business results for your company, increase your organization's impact in the office and around the world. And earlier on, I mentioned that there are benefits when it comes to salary, and that is shown in PMI's salary survey. And here is what they say: the median salary for PMP holders in the US is 25% higher than those without certification. Usually, however, it's not like, you know, you take your PMP exam and then your current employer is going to give you an increase. Most cases that I have at least seen is project managers change jobs, and because they are now PMP certified, they can ask for a higher salary. So it's not like, oh, I got the PMP, I'm going to get more money. No, you actually have to do something in order to receive that type of a salary increase. Around the world, this is what it looks like. So USA is plus 25 there, but take a look at South Africa, plus 58%, right? You make more than 1.5 times the salary that non-PMPs are making, right? India plus 36. So this is a huge benefit when it comes to your salary and your livelihood. Here are the certification requirements that we have. There are 2 options. So if that now depends on where you are on your education, right? So if you have a 4-year degree, that's the information here on the left. If you have a secondary degree, like a high school diploma or something like that, then you're on the right. And by the way, there is no qualification or it doesn't matter where you fall. For example, I do not have a 4-year degree, so I fall on the right side. I had to show these 60 months of training, but let's do this step by step. So on the left side, if you have a 4-year degree, you have to show that you have 36 months of leading projects. So you have to have been a project manager. This is not an entry-level certification, right? You must be a current project manager with at least 36 months of leading project management experience, and you have to have 35 hours of project management education training. So you must take a course of some sort to teach you project management. And then on the right-hand side, this is where I fell. I had to show that I had 60 months leading projects, and I also needed the 35 hours of project management education training there. As you can see, these things are pretty stringent, right? There's quite a bit that you have to be able to show. What if you don't meet this? Like, what if, for example, well, I only have 15 months of leading projects experience, or I'm just starting out, or well, I'm lacking maybe the training. Well, if you lack the training, that's easy. You can just take a course. But if you are not yet at those minimum 36 months, well, you have to have that. You can't. So what do you do? Well, take a look at the other 2 certifications that PMI offers, the PMI ACP and also the CAPM. Okay. In both cases, all you need is a high school diploma. For the PMI ACP, you need to have worked on projects at least 12 months, not as a project manager, right? Let's be absolutely clear. For the PMI ACP or the CAPM, you don't have to be a project leader of the project manager. For the PMI ACP, you have to work on projects. You could work as a designer, you could work as a tester, you could work as a subject matter expert. You don't have to have been the project manager for those. You also need agile experience, obviously, for an agile certification, and you need agile training for the PMI ACP. The CAPM, on the other hand, that is the easiest way to earn your certification from the PMI, and you need 23 hours of project management education training. So if you have a high school diploma and you have 23 hours of training, you can become CAPM certified. We have a question coming in here from Sudeep, who asks, what different training options for PMP are you offering for us? Well, we only offer one training option. So we have our PMP exam prep training course called the Project Management Prepcast training course. We also have the Project Management Prepcast exam simulator. But the training course itself, the 35 hours, that is the Project Management Prepcast training course that we offer. That is the one and only training course that we have. Okay, it's pre-recorded. You can download it to your phone. It's a podcast, obviously. So if you're taking the bus to work, you can watch a podcast episode as you are going to work every day or coming home from work every day, obviously. All right. Thank you for this question, Sudeep. That's it. So those are the basics of the PMP exam. Let's move on to part 2. The exam itself. What is being tested? The exam content outline. Okay, so there's a typo on this slide, as you can clearly see. This should say outline there in the second bullet. And a PMP sample question. We're going to give you a sample question. So please do get ready here because I'm going to ask you to type in A, B, C, or D as we're getting to that sample question from the PMP exam. All right, so what is being tested? The most important statement that I'm making again and again is this here. The PMP exam is not a test of the PMBOK guide. This is so important, allow me to repeat it. The PMP exam is not a test of the PMBOK guide. Instead, the questions on the PMP exam are based on the exam content outline, the exam content outline, the EC Oh, the ECO is basically sort of the syllabus of the PMP exam. It defines and describes what's on the exam. I have this really silly example that I always say. The PMP exam content outline does not talk about lava lamps. Therefore, PMI cannot ask you about lava lamps. All right? Okay, totally silly example, but you get the idea, right? Of course, it's focused on project management, right? But so if it's not in the ECO, PMI cannot ask you about it. For example, until 2021, Agile project management was not mentioned in the ECO. So until 2021, no questions about Agile project management were on the exam. That's only started on the on January 1st, 2021. Okay. Another question from Sudeep. Which book do you reference? PMBOK 6 versus 7. You must have missed this in the beginning, Sudeep. PMBOK 6 at the moment until about January of 2022. No. Second answer, the ECO does not get updated in 2022. The ECO was just updated at the beginning of 2021, and it usually takes 5 years for PMI to release a newly updated ECO. Right? And please do remember when you ask this question that the PMP exam is not a test of the PMBOK guide, right? It is a test that uses the PMBOK guide as a reference. Well, we'll get there in just a second, but just to bring this up again and make it absolutely clear. All right. So the ECO consists of domains, tasks, and enablers. And this is what you will be tested on here. You will be tested on your knowledge about managing people on the project, managing processes on the project, and ensuring that the project fits into your business environment, right? For example, that you support the strategic vision of your project. You can also see the number of questions there. So from the people domain, managing people, team management, leadership, those kind of things, 42% of questions will be about that. Processes, how do you create a work breakdown structure? Those type of things. And how do you make a project management plan? 50% of questions will be about that. And ensuring that the business environment is taken into consideration, 8% of your questions. But to make it a little more difficult, PMI also says it's half and half. Half of these questions will be about predictive project management, so waterfall type projects, and the other half will be about agile and hybrid. So allow me to go back here. So in the people domain, 21% will be about predictive, 21% will be about agile. In the process, 25 and 25. And in the business environment, 8% will be divided by 2. So it's 4% and 4% predictive and 4% agile. All right. With that out of the way, let us take a look at a sample task and an enabler. Okay. So this here is task number 2 from the people domain. And one of the biggest things that we as project managers have to do in our projects is to lead a team. Okay. And if you set a clear vision and mission, that enables you to lead a team. If you support diversity and inclusion, that enables you to lead a team. Do you understand why they're called enablers now, right? If you value servant leadership, that enables you to lead a team, and so on. So every single one of these sub-bullets here is an enabler, and that enables you to perform the task, to lead a team, which is part of the domain people. Okay, that's how the exam content outline is structured. All right, and now I told you that we are going to have a PMP exam sample question. Let's bring this up here. Next one. Here we go. You have just been assigned to an upcoming Agile project. As part of pre-project work, you review all of the organization's policies and procedures regarding compliance. You realize that only some of them may be applicable to your project. What should you do first? A, switch the project management approach from Agile to traditional. B, incorporate all compliance policies and procedures in the implementation strategy. C, ensure compliance activities are included in the project schedule baseline. And D, classify the compliance categories to determine the expenditure of project resources. All right, I'm gonna go off microphone here for just a second, have a sip of my tea, give you about 10 seconds, and I'll be right back. And in the meantime, why don't you type A, B, C, or D, your answer, into the chat? Thank you there, Sudeep. It looks like you are the only one who goes out on a limb. No, Tanya, thank you very much. Yes, do we have anybody else who wants to go out on a limb? So far, B has been selected twice. Anybody going for A, C, or D? All right. Rurmesa, thank you. Got an A there. All right. Moving on to the answer. Right. You may be surprised to learn that it's neither A or B. It is, in fact, answer D that is correct. Classify the compliance categories to determine the expenditure of project resources. Okay. Now, you may be telling yourself, what on earth is this? To be honest, this is a difficult question, right? But this is the type of question that you can expect on the PMP exam. This is not a super hard question, right? This is just sort of in the medium upper range there, but it's not super hard. But this is the style and the type of question that you can expect to see on the PMP exam, which is why I'm saying if you don't have an exam simulator with questions like these, you're probably going to have a much harder time. Anyway, back to the question here. So you may be saying, I have never heard of this. Classify the compliance categories to determine the expenditure of project resources. What on earth is that? Well, if you had taken a look at the exam content outline, let me move on to the next slide. Exam content outline, business environment, that's the third domain. Task 1, where we have to plan and manage compliance. The second enabler there says you have to classify compliance categories as part of that task. So if you classify compliance categories, that enables you to plan and manage project compliance as part of the business environment. Okay, so with that out of the way, right? Thank you very much, everybody, for participating. And now you understand how important it is to look at the exam content outline to understand all the tasks and all the enablers in there. And by the way, if your PMP trainer doesn't mention the exam content outline, ask them, why are you not mentioning the exam content outline? This is important. I need to know what's in there. All right. This is part 3. End of part 2, moving on to part 3, the application itself. The application is an online form, and I have some tips for you here as well. And by the way, the screenshot here on the left, that's the actual online exam application where you put in your experience there. All right. So the application has a few sections. It's actually quite easy to fill it in. When I had to prepare for the PMP exam, fill in my application back in 2004. It was pages after pages after pages of stuff that he wanted to know. PMI has really, really reduced this, and they're using artificial intelligence now to analyze and sort through all the applications that they are getting. So it is an online application, basic information you have to give, your name, where you live, phone number, email address. It's what you would expect. Then general education, right? Where did you go to school? Where did you go to university? What's your highest degree? And based on that, they can then say, oh, you need 36 months of experience, or you need 60 months of experience. Then project management requirements need to be filled in, your experience leading and directing projects, and also the education. This is where you have to show that you have 35 hours of project management education. Good news there. If you took, I always joke about this, if you took a project management seminar in kindergarten, it's still valid. So any project management training that you have ever had in your life is valid for towards these 35 hours that you need on the PMP exam. You can print everything as a PDF document. You may make sure that all of it is correct before you send it off. My biggest tip for you when it comes to filling in the PMP exam application, good practice for you, I highly recommend that you use very specific vocabulary, and that is the language as you find it in the PMBOK guide, 6th edition, 7th edition, and not the language in your company's project management methodology, right? For example, you may call it a project initiation document. Well, PMI calls it a project charter, right? So you want to make sure that you use the language that PMI understands and can work with. Remember, there may be a person at the other end of this, right? And if you say, I created a project initiation document, well, what do you mean? Do you mean the business case, or do you mean the charter, or do you mean the project management plan? Right? And if you use the correct language from the PMBOK guide, then the person at the other end is not going to turn around and say, we do not understand your application, therefore we reject it, right? And then you have to redo everything. It just makes things easier for everyone. Use PMI's vocabulary, use PMBOK guide vocabulary for this, okay? Some more tips for you. Prepare for an audit. This can happen, right? A certain number randomly of applications is going to get audited. My tip is always the same. Contact your employers and show them your estimates. Talk to your boss and say, hey, this is what I'm going to put in about our projects. Are you okay with that? Is this correct? So that they all have already seen it, and so that you can make changes if they say that's not correct. You didn't work 2,000 hours on this. It was only 1,700 hours. Right? So these are the kind of things you want to be prepared for. If you worked as an employee of a company, they also require you to give names of people that are your contact people who can confirm that your information is correct. List your direct supervisor, so put your boss in there or your project sponsor as the contact for each of these projects. However, many of us work for consulting firms. You get hired out, right? You manage a project for someone else, right? You go to you're a contractor, basically. Well, do not put down the name and the company who the project actually worked for. Still put your boss down, right? Imagine if you had to go and contact 20 of your customers during an audit, right? Very hard. But if you had the same boss for all of these 20 customers, perfect. Your one single boss can say, yep, all of this is correct. You did work for these 20 customers while you were employed by us. Right, so these are the experience documentation tips for you. So much for the application. And we're moving on to part 4, which is the exam itself. How long is it? How many questions are there? What do my exam results look like? Those kind of things. Okay. You may have read somewhere that it's 200 questions and 4 hours. Well, that's the old style. PMI changed that in January of 2021. They now only require you to answer 180 questions, and you have 3 hours and 50 minutes to do that. Okay. And a tip here, leave 0 questions unanswered. If you leave a question unanswered on the PMP exam, it's incorrect. It's immediately counted as incorrect. But if you select an answer, well, at least you have a chance of getting it right. Okay, so you take your pick. Take a best answer that you say, yeah, it's either A or C. I don't know. Could be either. I'll pick C. That's my best guess. Okay, that happens to everybody. Okay. The question types on the exam are multiple choice. So A, B, C, D, please select one. Multiple correct, that's A, B, C, D, E, F. Please select 3. There are drag and drop questions where you literally have to drag and drop things around on the screen. For example, you have something like a process. Do, check, act, plan. Okay, now you have to drag and drop them into the correct order. It's plan, do, check, act. There you go. That's the drag and drop. And the next one is the point and click. In those cases, you may be shown a graphic, maybe an S-curve from your budget, right? So how the budget progresses. And then on this S-curve, the question may be, where do we spend most money? And you have to go here, click. This is where we spend most money. And then finally, that's fill in the blank. It's actually limited fill in the blank, as PMI calls them. This is almost exactly the same as the multiple choice, the first one there. But, you know, instead of A, B, C, D, click which one you want, it's A, B, C, D, type it in. I asked Sarah Hampton-Simmons, she's in charge of all PMI certifications, why did you do that? And she said, we wanted to give students a little bit of variety as well. Not students, excuse me, candidates, exam candidates. We wanted to give them a little bit of a variety, so you can click on the screen, you have to use your keyboard as well. You know, it breaks up the monotony of just click, next, click, next. That's the response that I have from PMI. That's why they're doing that. Most questions are scenario-based, so very similar to the scenario that we saw earlier in the sample question that we had, where we talked about, you know, you've just come on a project and this is happening and that is happening and what do you do now, right? But the questions are vague, really, really vague. And I think this is probably the #1 complaint that I hear from many people as they're coming out of the PMP exam. They're like, I had, in some questions, no idea what they were asking. The answers didn't seem to even relate to what they were asking. How am I supposed to know what this is about if it's so vague and so fluffy, and right? So my recommendation for you, be prepared for that, right? Go into the exam knowing that this is going to be vague. They're going to ask me questions where I'm going to go, I have no idea, all right? So be prepared for this. Now you're sitting down, you get the first question, it's totally vague, and you're going to go, oh yeah, Cornelius told me about this. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to select the right question here, the right answer that I feel is correct, and then I'll move on. Right? I'm not going to let it get to me. That's the most important thing. All right, so this is a little bit about the PMP exam. A big question that I also get is this here. What is the PMP exam pass rate, right? If anybody tells you the PMP exam pass rate is 61%, tell them that they have no idea what they are talking about, because nobody knows. Well, actually, PMI knows, but PMI doesn't say anything, okay? PMI says our questions are based on sound psychometric analysis. That's how we score it, right? Each question may have a different weight. Each exam may be scored in its own individual merits. This is our best guess, okay? What I have been told by PMI is basically that no matter what exam you're getting, it's all randomized, okay? No matter what exam you're getting, the questions, the question difficulty on average are selected in such a way that it doesn't matter which random exam you're getting, it's the same difficulty level that everybody is getting. So if you get like a few really super hard questions, they'll also give you a few super easy ones, right, to level it out. That's kind of the idea behind this. Is this truly what they're doing? Again, best guess, PMI doesn't tell us what it really is. Yeah, once you are done with the exam, you come out and you will be handed a score report. And here is an exam, certification exam report that I grabbed off the internet from somebody who was kind enough to post this. And this is an actual report from somebody who's actually taken the exam, and I've anonymized it, removed their name and all that. So hopefully the name isn't on here anymore. What you see here is at the top, you get this red, orange, green, and dark green, right? And as you can see, this person was way above target there, right? So they really passed well. And these are the four levels that PMI has, and you can see that performance rating categories there towards the bottom. So you want to be either on target or above target. That's what you are shooting for. I have seen people who had areas where they were below target or even needs improvement and still passed the exam. So, like I said, it is psychometrically balanced quite well by PMI here. Let us scroll down on this. There we are. And this is then the result of this person per these three domains: people, process, and business environment. And as you can see, I think it was a he had above target in all three of their domains. So if for example, in business environment, you have needs improvement, but in both people and process, you're way above target, you could still pass the exam, right? That is not a problem. Okay, so this person passed, but yeah, what if I don't? Right? Now what? Well, first of all, you have 3 attempts. So once you have signed up for the PMP exam, PMI gives you 3 chances to take and pass the PMP exam within 1 year. Okay, so you can have 1, 2, 3. If you fail the 3rd time, which I hope you don't, then you have to wait for a year. All right, so you fail the 3rd time, then you have to wait, and then you can start again. All right, so this is one thing you have to be aware of. So you can 3 times. I've even had a couple of students who were allowed to take it 4 times based on their, they spoke to PMI, they explained their situation, and they were able to get it in. But don't expect that to happen. It's a very rare occasion. I think twice since 2008 have I had a student who was allowed 4 attempts, okay? So this is not something that PMI does normally. This is what you're going to get here. Wait, I'm trying to get to the next slide. There we go. This is a report. This is an older report from the old PMP exam, but the new PMP exam looks very similar. Just PMI is showing you where you fall. You can see this person here failed, right? And this is actually, I believe this is a demo from PMI. So this person here, Richard Casale, he's not a real person, and you can tell that with all the red here, this person failed. So this will then allow you to go in and see where did I do badly and where do I have to study more and improve what I know. So much for part 3 about what the exam is all about. Now that you have passed your exam and you are PMP certified, you have to know that the PMP exam is not for life. It's only good for 3 years, just like a driver's license or a pilot license, right? You have to renew. You have to show that you are continuing to grow as a project manager by earning professional development units. There we are. So you have to satisfy those continuing certification requirements. Basically, you have to earn 60 professional development units, 60 PDUs, and you have to do that every 3 years, and it also includes a renewal fee. I myself, I passed the exam in 2004, and so 7, 10, 14, 17, 20. So I'm now in my 6th renewal cycle, right? So every 3 years, you have to earn these 60 PDUs. And these PDUs are divided into categories. You have to earn PDUs in technical project management. You have to earn a certain number of PDUs in strategic and business management, and you have to earn a certain number in leadership. It's not 20-20-20. There are many rules around this and all that. We're not going to go into detail here, but just so you know, basically, you have to continue your education. You have to grow as a project manager. You have to learn and be an active project manager in order to own the PMP exam and be allowed to put PMP behind your name. Here's what you could do. The education PDUs is one of the things that people do most of the time, just learning new project management technologies. For example, you can join a PMI chapter event. They're now mostly virtual. Some chapters have gone back already to in-person events now. Self-study, you can read books. Yes, reading a book about project management, about leadership, about business management will earn you PDUs. You can take a class, online webinars. I have a podcast that I've been doing since 2005 with over 500 episodes and interviews that are free to listen to. So, you can get free PDUs, you can get for pay PDUs. It all depends on what you want to do. But really, we are at the point where you're probably going to go, I'm not interested what I have to do in 2 years once I'm certified. Tell me how to pass the PMP exam, right? Moving on from the PDUs to an exam study plan. Because by now you're probably thinking, oh my God, I should have taken better notes here. A lot of data, all to process. Well, it is your lucky day because I am going to give you kind of a 12-step, I think it is, a 12-step overview on taking action and passing the exam. So don't feel like this gentleman here. I know, really cheesy photo that I have chosen here. Don't feel like him. Don't feel downtrodden because I'm going to help you. First of all, I want you to read the exam content outline and the PMI Certifications Handbook. The exam content outline is important because that's what the PMP exam is all about. Those are the rules of the PMP exam. And the handbook is mostly about administrative stuff. How much does it cost? How do you apply? If you fail, now what? How do I recertify? All of that is explained in there. So those are the two basic pieces, basic documents from PMI that you want to read. Now that you have read that, you will better understand what's on the exam and also the eligibility requirements. Now you can determine whether or not you are eligible. Can I even take the PMP exam? That's the number one question you have to ask yourself. I do have another webinar on exactly that topic. It's about 35 minutes long, and I give you a step-by-step process on how to determine and make sure that you truly qualify for your PMP exam. Then once you have decided, yep, I do qualify, you want to develop a plan. Yes, you want to develop a PMP study plan. Again, there are many articles out there on how to do this. My recommendation is develop a study plan that meets your needs and that takes into consideration that I only have an hour per day versus somebody else who says, oh, I have 3 hours per day, plus I can study on the way to work on the bus. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration as you develop your plan of attacking, preparing for, and passing the PMP exam. Then I strongly recommend, please do join PMI, because once you join PMI, things are going to get cheaper. For example, you're going to get a free PMBOK guide, PDF copy. The examination fee is much cheaper. So it makes a lot of sense to join PMI. Yes, you're paying $129, I think, last time I checked, $129 to join PMI. But the PMBOK guide, PDF version, the discount on the PMP exam, all of that you're getting back, it is a lot more than the $129. So, invest upfront and you're going to get that money back. Okay. And then once you meet all the requirements, the prerequisites, so I have my 36 months of experience, I have 35 hours of training. As soon as you meet all of that, fill in your application for the PMP exam. Okay. And that's because, the sooner you fill it in, put yourself a little bit under pressure there, right? Tell yourself that, okay, I need to take this exam. I have to, and this is the day. And so everything's going forward, right? So you really want to make sure that you're doing it. And you also want to buy the PMBOK guide. And I'm saying buy here, even though you can download a PDF version. And I'm saying buy because the PDF version you get from PMI, you can't print it. So if you want the printed version of the PMBOK guide, then you have to purchase it. If the PDF version is okay, then replace buy with download the PMBOK guide from the PMI website, because I am now a PMI member and I get a free copy. All right. So that's the next thing you want to do. Then get training. right? And again, this is a bit backwards. You know, I say apply for the certification there on the left. Now I'm saying get training. Yes, it's kind of in the order that they came to mind here. They're not necessarily in a logical order. You want to get PMP exam prep training. If you have taken project management courses in the past, this may have been an introduction to project management. Maybe you had a course about how to use your project management software. That counts as training for the PMP exam. But you probably do not have PMP exam specific training, right? That's what I mean by get training. So exam prep training is what you need. You may have 40 hours of project management training, and that qualifies you to take the exam, to apply for the exam. But you may still want to take a PMP exam prep course just to make sure that you get the information you need. It's like saying, well, I've been, you know, I know how to drive a car, but I'm still going to go to a driving instructor so that the driving instructor can teach me how to pass the driving test. Okay, that's kind of what this is all about here. Then you want to get an exam simulator, right? I do offer my own exam simulator, giving to it just a moment. Would appreciate your business. Thank you very much. There are others out there. I always say make sure you buy the simulator that matches your needs and your budget. And all ego and all marketing aside, our exam simulator is often quoted as being one of the best, if not the best, in the market. Then you need to study. This is going to take you quite a lot of time. Usually people study for about 2 to 3 months, and they invest 1 to 3 hours every day into getting ready for the PMP exam. They also practice the questions. Yes, you use your exam simulator. For example, you know, you study something about, you know, how to do budgets and how to manage scope and things like that. And then you go to your exam simulator and you say, give me 20 questions about scope management. Give me 50 questions about how to manage my budget. Those kind of things, right? So that's how you will be practicing and studying for the exam. And then, take the exam. And many students actually tell me that once they get to the exam room and they do take the exam, it feels like this was just another practice exam. All right. So the better your exam simulator, the more time you spend in the exam simulator, the more prepared you are going to be in regards to taking the exam. And then there's one more line, because now you're PMP certified, we hope. And you have to remember that you must earn 60 PDUs. Your certification is only valid for 3 years. So what do you do in regards to earning your PDUs? And, you know, case in point here, as we are finishing off this slide, by the way, if you want to, take a screenshot right now of this slide here, because this is a good plan that allows you to sort of get your stuff in order before you get ready. Case in point, regarding the exam simulator, this is from Sudip. Your exam simulator is very, very effective to pass this exam. Thank you. And just to be absolutely clear, I did not ask Sudip to do this. This is not somehow just somebody who sits in the background and puts in comments that are positive to us. So this would be highly unethical. I would never do that. So thank you very much, Sudip, for that comment. All right. So I mentioned my training and my exam simulator. So we have the PrepCast training course. On the left there, this is a full-featured exam prep training course, and you can find that at pm-prepcast.com. And then on the right, we have the PrepCast exam simulator, which you can find at pmexamsimulator.com. Those are our 2 flagship products for the PMP exam. Right. Yeah, and that's pretty much getting us close to the end of today. Here are my takeaways for you. The PMP certification from PMI is really the gold standard of project management certifications worldwide. And in many areas, having a PMP is a requisite in getting a job as a project manager, right? So many job ads now will say PMP required, right? Without the PMP exam, we're not even going to take a look at your resume. The eligibility requirements, they're very stringent, and PMI puts you through an audit, maybe, right? So do plan your filling in the application, make sure that you're being truthful and that you prep for a potential audit, all right? Then, in order to be allowed to take the exam, you have to have at least 36 months of experience and 35 contact hours of PM education. In some cases, in my case, for example, I needed 60 months of PM experience. It all depends on the education that you have had in the past, whether you have a high school diploma or whether you have a 4-year degree. During the exam, you have to answer 180 questions, and you have 3 hours and 50 minutes to answer those 180 questions. There are somewhere around 70 point something seconds per question, which is why I'm saying, this is a tough exam. Get yourself an exam simulator. Do yourself that favor. Invest in that. And don't forget, the PMP credential is only valid for 3 years. During those 3 years, you have to earn 60 PDUs, and then you have to renew. You don't have to take another exam. You just have to pay a fee and show that you have earned those 60 PDUs. Yep, and that's it. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Before I go, however, let me show you this here, because this is how it feels to pass the PMP exam. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Until next time.